A day doesn't seem to go by without us seeing a social media post from a business announcing their permanent closure or a to let sign in a space vacated by another business. It's all part of the devastating impact of the COVID-19 lockdown, which is being felt in different ways across South Africa's economic sector. Now, a popular wine bar here in Rosebank, here in Johannesburg, was one of those businesses to announce their closure just a couple of days ago. Let's talk now to David Cope, the director of Publik Wine, about the decision to close their wine bar. And David joins us via Skype from Cape Town. David, thank you so much for joining us. I didn't see the official announcement from your official platforms. What I did see is a number of people on social media, on my timeline, saying, oh no, not the Publik Wine Bar, not that. Where are we going to have, you know, our Friday drinks and that kind of thing? It really seems to have made an impact on many people, and people saying, oh, yet another one of our favorites gone because of the coronavirus pandemic and indeed subsequent lockdown. But it couldn't have been an easy decision for you and your team.
No, not at all. Good morning. Thank you for having me. But yeah, no, we obviously wrestled with that decision, and not an easy one to close down something you've put a lot of effort and time and energy and, you know, employing a team of people to operate. But you know, we've been there for a year and just over a year, and it was going very well. We had a good community of followers, but ultimately we are a wine bar, and, you know, we need to be able to trade with a lot of people in a small space to make it work. And the cost of not operating and trying to operate with a different business model didn't really make sense. And it came down to I guess a prediction of when we'd be able to trade normally as a wine bar, and it's probably a long time away.
And
so we don't really have. Sorry,
and something a lot of people perhaps don't think about. I mean, if you are operating out of a business space in, and one would say a trendy part of Johannesburg, that rental space doesn't come cheap, does it?
No, not at all. And we have a bar in Cape Town that's runs at a much lower monthly cost, so that's doing okay and will survive for as long as it needs to. But the rental costs are very high in Johannesburg. Our overall costs are higher, and we just had to make the call that we wouldn't be able to throw money into it indefinitely.
And now, the word pivot or pivoting is something that we hear in business all the time. And your team in Johannesburg certainly did try their best to do that, because a few weeks into lockdown, or indeed, I think it was days, they had decided to hustle up their efforts and started delivering, one of the first people or businesses to do the delivery of fresh produce and baked goods. But of course, with this unending, or what seems to be an unending ban on alcohol sales, which is your core business, that could only have gotten you so far.
Yes, so we obviously, when that first alcohol ban hit, there was a decision to make, either to close up shop and the likelihood of retrenching everyone in the team, which we didn't want to do. So the next solution was to find an alternative, and actually, the credit goes to Odette, who runs our bar up there, or has run it, to come up with the idea of doing the fresh produce boxes, which she and the team there did very well, and it helped essentially pay the rent, or help pay towards the rent and the team. And yeah, it was a good move to buy some time, and ultimately it did help us get, only through their hard work, get to the point of 4 months later having to make this call. But it's not enough, and the business model doesn't really survive in that sense. So we had to get to where we are today.
Now, you've said it's not all doom and gloom. Your original bar in Cape Town is still standing for now, and your core business is also online with your wine sales. Talk to us just about the time leading up to making that decision that nobody really wants to do, because each entity you open under your business umbrella becomes like a new baby, doesn't it? And you're employing people and helping them to put food on the table. Talk to us about how you and your team would discuss and the emotions involved in making a difficult decision like that.
So, yeah, obviously it's not a great decision to have to make. We're probably lucky in the sense that we're not an enormous team. We've got less than 10 people in our Johannesburg bar. So I think it's a harder decision for businesses that have 50 or more employees. So that obviously affects things. But at the end of the day, we're part of the Joburg bar is part of a bigger business. We've got the Cape Town bar. We have an online store at Publik where people can buy the wines online, and we can deliver to their houses. So from a planning side, it just came down to the point of, we can't put money into something that might not be able to operate and be profitable for possibly the next year or even longer, who knows. And ultimately it came down to the decision of, if we close now, at least we can support some of the staff for a few months ahead. We can employ some of the team elsewhere in the business, and it's probably better for everyone that we do it now rather than forestall the decision, which will probably be inevitable.
How hopeful are you, or is this a matter of fingers being very crossed at the moment, that the alcohol ban will be lifted at some time so that the wheels of your business can get going again?
Well, it will definitely get lifted. The question of when is obviously the great unknown, and I think part of the frustration the entire hospitality industry is facing is the great uncertainty of that. If we had a fixed idea that was in a month away or 3 months away, people can plan knowing that sort of timeline, but it's the uncertainty of it that's the real frustration. And to be honest, my opinion on when it's going to end or not, whether it's a month or 3 months, I'm not sure. But yeah, the great uncertainty of when it ends is what's causing a lot of pain. There's people out there doing a lot to try and get the government to change their mind. There's the whole Job Save Lives action that Liam Tomlin has created in Cape Town. There's a lot of movement to try and stop it, but ultimately it seems like there's no real sort of interest from the government to kind of save the hospitality industry at this point.
Okay, we're going to leave it there. Thank you so much for your time this morning. David Cope is the director of Publik, talking there about the ins and outs of keeping a business afloat like theirs during these very tough economic times. Now.